Welcome to the Above Mentality Podcast, inspiring stories of success by extraordinary people. And now, your host, H.J. Sanchez.
Hello there, this is H.J. Sanchez. Welcome to episode number 4, número cuatro of the Above Mentality Podcast. Before we start, I just want to make you a reminder. Please, if you like the content, like it, share it, and subscribe to the channel. You can find us on YouTube. You can see us on YouTube as the Above Mentality Podcast. As well, you can listen to us on Spotify. Again, the Above Mentality Podcast. Another reminder, if you like this content, please share with your friends. The mission of this platform, it was made in order to share and celebrate success story by ordinary people making extraordinary things. Today, I want to start in a different way this podcast. I just want to share with you some facts about the consumption of alcohol, alcoholism, and the effects of alcohol in the body and to people. So let me quickly share with you some facts that I have written down. It says excessive alcohol usage affects the 178,000 deaths, 4 million potential life loss each year in the United States. It shorts the life of people by 23 years. Is also responsible for the death of 1 of every 5 deaths among adults in the United States between the age from 20 to 49. Short-term health risk injuries such as a car crash, violence, alcohol poisoning, miscarriage in women, and then the long-term effects: high pressure, heart disease, stroke, liver disease, cancer, weakening of the immune system, learning and memory problems, mental health problems, as well as social problems. Today, I have the pleasure to have with me a very special guest, Rick. Welcome to the show. Um, Very honored to have you here in this podcast. Thank you for accepting my invite. And I want to start real quick, Rick. Who is Rick Plona first, and then why are we sharing these facts about the effects of alcohol in people?
And who is Rick Plona? So Rick Plona is a Baltimore born and raised strength and conditioning coach who moved to North Carolina a couple of years ago on a whim, and we might get into that a little bit later. But that's a story for maybe another day or later in this podcast. But when you were going through those facts, and I thought about like all the things you mentioned, but then not even to mention how many people might say be out and fall, or be in their home and fall and obtain an injury to their head or a concussion or stuff.
Trauma. Yeah.
Like alcohol, just there's so many different ways. And when you were reading the different ways, like obviously people think about car crashes, people don't think about congestive heart failure and just all the other health issues that stem off of people drinking alcohol to excess that may lie to their doctors or not be truthful about their alcohol consumption. There's just a lot of lost. There's a lot of lost stats in there. People I've met, people that I've been to their funerals. It's really interesting. It's really a blessing to be here on this podcast, talking about this subject matter with some other stuff going on with it. But I truly do believe that probably the most important part of my story is recovery and continued recovery from alcoholism, regardless of what else goes on in my life, right? All the other successes, this and that, whatever you want to define success as. Really, success for me, being a recovering alcoholic, is not drinking, no matter what else goes on. Through anything that goes on, success, failure, and all that's going to happen, it's staying sober through the process. And, so that kind of brings me to where we're at. So who am I? I'm a 37-year-old father of a newborn baby girl. I'm a husband, recovered alcoholic, strength and conditioning coach, brother, son, all that good stuff, So
That's true. Great, great, Rick. I mean, again, thank you for being the show. I think your story is an impressive and amazing one. When we met, actually, we met through social media, and then I was at the gym that you work, and we had the
Mhm.
to meet each other, and you share your story again. I mean, an impressive story. That's why you're here in the show. And I want to start, Rick, with taking you back to where this all began, right? I mean, how was the beginning of this journey, specifically when you start to struggling, right? I think you were like around 25 years old, working as a bartender, and then all the things start changing, going, let's say, in a different way that you basically wanted. So take us through that journey from the very beginning to now.
So it's interesting. It's subtle. It's subtle. So I have a lot of alcoholism in my family, and that doesn't make me an alcoholic, but there's a genetic predisposition. Look it up, read
Yes.
about it. We don't need to get into all that today, but so 25 is when I cleaned it up. Subtly started as a sophomore in high school. So here's what I can tell you.
Ooh.
When you talk about alcoholism, a lot of people think that it's something that you grow into. It really doesn't. To me, the details don't matter. Whether I was born with it, whether I became it, whether it befell upon me. I can tell you from the first high school party that I drank at, I was never limited to one. I could never have one. I
Wow.
would describe it as if you flip on a light switch,
Mm-hmm.
you turn it on, the light switch disappears. There's no turning it off. That's the way that I would describe it to someone who maybe wouldn't understand. There's no turning it off. And for me, there was never turning it off. Now, did I think I was just a young guy who was having a good time?
Sure.
Absolutely. But there was never normal consumption. For one, you're underage drinking. That's a problem in and of itself. And I know a lot of kids do it, this and that, but it's still not normal and it's still not acceptable. So it's just one of those things where I had a good upbringing. My father was an alcoholic, admittedly, and that's the only reason I say that.
Okay.
So I grew up with the knowledge of what could happen to me. And regardless of that knowledge, it took its course. And really, it was very subtle. I was in high school, and my first drink was in high school, and things got a little wild that night, like they always did. It was never normal, never one or two. I never desired that. But, it wasn't every day. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. But what I can tell you is, going through high school, being a three-sport athlete, and then getting into college, a big thing for me, a big thing that contributed to it was I've really always heavily identified myself with sports, athletic
Okay.
performance. Okay.
Yes.
And I went to a small private all boys high school in Baltimore, Maryland. It's called Archbishop Curley. And I was a three-sport athlete of the year, president of my senior class. And we would party a little bit on the weekends. And I
Sure.
always got out of hand. Always. Never
Okay.
once did I not get out of hand
We,
when.
you knew back then that you were, I mean, out of hand, and you knew back there that you were drinking too much, or is now that
So
looking
the,
back?
so, so the thing is, I wasn't even drinking too much. It was about what happened when I drank.
Okay.
That's the thing. So a lot of people misconstrue alcoholism with someone who drinks all the time. You could drink one time a year, and if that one time a year you destroy and wreck as a result of the drinking, there's a chance you could be an alcoholic. It's not a definite, but it's
Wow.
not so much about consumption or frequency. It's about result.
Results.
Result. So, like, if I completely become someone I'm not as a result of doing this one thing, whether it's once a year, 6 times a week, it's still, there's no way to justify it. So for me, it was just a subtle thing that crept in. And when I made the transition from high school to college, there was a little bit of financial insecurity in our home. It didn't come from a lot of money. So I just played it safe, and I stayed home, and I didn't go away. I didn't want to take out student loans. I was just, the whole financial process, financial literacy, nobody ever explained it to me. So I played it safe. And what I was doing was I was going to school and I was working in the restaurant industry to put myself through college.
Got it.
And there's a lot of alcohol that flows in the restaurant industry. So just naturally, and in college too, partying and this and that. And just kind of, it became more of a normal thing. So I went from weekends in high school every other weekend to maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then maybe, I could have a drink at work if I knew a bartender. Like it subtly crept in as I was going to school. And before
You were surrounded by alcohol. I mean,
correct. I mean,
right?
and I was partaking, right? But also in that process, losing and getting further away from what I identified myself as. So not quite sure who I was, heavily identified as a member of a team, a football, a wrestling, or a baseball team. You take that away from me, and just a lot left there. I was not the big fish in the small pond anymore. I was the small fish in the big pond, and nobody knew Rick Plona. So just a big part of what I identified myself as left me from high school to college, and alcohol consumption increased, and also not really knowing what direction I wanted to go in with a major, with this, with that. Like I just not a very intentional life. I just wasn't living intentionally. I was just kind of doing what I thought I was supposed to do. A kid is supposed to go to college. When he graduates high school, he's supposed to get an education, even if he doesn't know what he wants, even if he has no idea what he's supposed to do. He's just supposed to fulfill the societal checkbox. You go, you get an education, and that's what you do. And I wasn't moved by it. I just wasn't. So I just got caught in this thing where, like, hey, if I'm working and if I'm paying bills, I'm successful for what it is, So it's interesting. The progression, it was very subtle because I thought I was doing the right things.
Sure. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, college, you're in the teens, 18, 19 years old. I mean, there's a lot of unknown, what I'm going to do, what I want to become. I need to help my parents. Like you said, let me get a job. But that job is basically serving alcohol. So you start trying here, trying there. Then you have, let's say, your background from your dad, right? I mean, it's like I'm doing what's supposed to be doing, but at the same time, you were getting into a rabbit hole without knowing it, right?
Subtle. It's the denial thing, And people would mention, friends would mention, hey, had a little much. And I just didn't realize that, really, when I'd be out and about, what it was is, it was escape.
Yeah.
It was temporary relief. It wasn't, I want to go out. I just wanted to go out and get a little relief from life because I wasn't necessarily happy with my life. So it was really easy to do because it's what everybody around me was doing, but they were doing it differently. They were getting up and going to work. They were going to classes. And eventually, I kind of filtered out, you know what I mean? I just kind of went full time and I veered away from, college because it took too much energy to do everything. And the drinking was increasing. And, I was gaining some weight. I graduated high school as this, this athlete. And you'd see me graduated high school at 17. 4 years later, I put on about 70 or 80 pounds.
I have a few pictures here, Rick, that I want to share. And thank you for sharing them. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is you now to the right, to my right. And then to the left is you at college. So
own your health. How about that?
Oh my God. And again, talking about that rabbit hole, I mean, the more you drink, the harder is to drop it. But as
the nervous system starts to depend on it, the central nervous system. You don't even realize it's happening. Like it's subtle.
Yeah.
And a lot of people
you start struggling waking up in the mornings, or you don't want to work out. So then
there's no mornings. You wake up in the afternoons.
There you go. I know, Rick. I mean, and going back to your story, Rick, I mean, there was a moment. First of all, you mentioned escape. You were trying to escape. Escape from what, if you can recall?
Circumstances that I caused. That, in the moment, I would attribute it to a victim mindset. That, I wouldn't let people off the hook. Possibly who raised me. I thought a lot about my father and his alcoholism. It had nothing to do with mine. But I used to relate the two very heavily because it was easier for me to get an out. It's easier to blame other people for what I'm not doing or what I am doing. And that's where I was at. And I didn't know I was doing it.
Lack of accountability, right?
That's right. There was no accountability because dad wasn't in the home and mom worked 2 jobs, and God bless her, right? She did everything she could. They both did the best they could with what they had, is what I found out later on. And real, I guess, introspection of my life. When I look back, how can I judge anybody for having the same thing I have? I'm just grateful that, I was able to recognize it at a young age. But there was one big turn for me at the age of 22.
That was my next question. What was that, let's say, low point and the turning point, right?
Oh man, so I'm working full time in the restaurant industry. I'm taking a few college courses at this point. I'm at a community college. I'm trying to hang in there, and I decided, I think I want to be a fireman. I always had this thought in my head, and I took the test for the Baltimore City Fire Department, the written test, and I got back in shape. Because I told you I gained about 50 or 60 pounds, and so I went on this like 3-month sabbatical where I got back into work, and I always was in the gym. I just was not. It was not focused, but I quit drinking for 3 months on my own power, right? And and I got back in shape, and I took the written test for the fire department. I passed the physical test, and then I got put on a waiting list. And from that time, from when I passed those 2 tests and they put me on a waiting list, 6 months went by. And I picked up a drink and I gained all that weight back. And when they called me back 6 months later to hire me,
it was a different way again.
It had progressed. Actually, it was worse because that's what it is. It's progressive.
Wow.
No matter what period you take off, when you pick back up as if you had been drinking the entire time.
That rebound effect, right?
So the shot in the gut was they called me up to come down for a physical down to Mercy Hospital in Baltimore. And my blood pressure was high. I had been to the doctors previously for elevated liver enzymes, for panic attacks, all related to alcohol, insomnia, all these things, all that revolved around my direct alcohol use, right? And they requested 2 years worth of my medical records because I was running a high blood pressure, and all those facts were in there, and in there the doctor had noted chronic alcoholism. And I didn't get that job. And to make the rest of the story really short, from the age of 22 to 25 when I got sober, I had a chip on my shoulder, and it was the lowest point I'd ever been at. And that's what drove it for the next 2 years. So I went the opposite way. I used a couple more years to just feel sorry for myself. And it's no way to go in it, but that was the low point.
Got it.
That was the low point. And fast forward a couple of years, what caused me to stop was I saw a picture of myself, man.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe it was me. I just I had a moment of clarity. Some people call it a God shot if you're religious. I really just had a moment where my brain, I guess my soul, and my feet were in the same place, and I went, "This is reality." I had 30 seconds that were spent outside of denial.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That light coming from above saying,
I don't know where it came from, but I just saw the truth for about 30 seconds, and it was a little overwhelming, but I saw,
okay.
like 300 pounds, dude. You put the picture up. It's like I didn't even have a seat to watch that happen. It's like my body was on autopilot. I mean, I can't really, so, and that's where it was. And I was 25 years old, September 14th, it might have been September 13th, 2011 was that day.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Rick, we now that you mentioned this, I mean, we discussed in previous podcasts the difference between motivation and discipline, right? And some define motivation at that spark, right?
Mm-hmm.
That help you start, and then you become disciplined. So is it fair to say that motivation was that moment that you got the light, that 30 seconds that you said, you took a look at the picture, said, wow, I mean, this is almost 300 pounds. That was the motivation moving forward?
I love the discussion between motivation and discipline, right? Because I think motivation is super overrated. It's this fleeting emotion. It's like sadness. It's like you just got to wait 10 minutes and it goes by, or maybe 2, whatever it is, it's going to pass. Discipline is something that sticks and stays. So I find Yeah, I was not motivated in that moment. I was actually probably the most frustrated I've ever been in my life. But
Okay.
what I will tell you about, and bringing it back to what I do for a living, what I did in high school and the principles that I learned at a Franciscan high school and the work ethic that I learned from coaching,
Mm-hmm.
from coaches without having a male figure in my household, um, those things came back to surface. They were there. They were inside me. The lessons that I
Yes.
learned on playing fields and in weight rooms with mentors are what I went back to. So you could call. I would not say motivated that evening or that week. Like I felt like I had a mountain in front of me, and but I knew it was time to take action. So I guess I was motivated to make a choice, but I did not feel motivation. I just knew what I needed to do because I had done it before. I had done it. I had been there. I had been where I wanted to be.
So the map, it was already within you, right? The proper steps. It was just let me open the drawer, take a look at the map, and follow it because I been there, done that, right? But
Made a decision.
there's a lot of people, Rick, that doesn't have that previous experience, discipline, female or man coach in your life that help you build that map or that discipline. So, I mean, you were the ones lucky enough, right, to have
Mm-hmm.
that those principles that took you out of the struggles.
Yeah, when I look back at that, the coaching and the experiences that I had athletically are what I drew upon when I started this whole thing because I really just wanted to get back to health. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to get back
Yeah.
to health. There were other things I wanted, but that's really what meant most to me. Um, I've never been a really like money driven, like flashy. Like I've always just I'm at my happiest when I'm in the best shape and I have quality relationships. And I had that in high school, you know what I mean, with friends and teammates.
Yeah.
And, and I love to be challenged. There was a challenge in front of me. And don't get me wrong, it's a little bit easier to get in shape when you're in high school just going to class versus when you're 25 years old and you've made a little bit of a wreck in the last 7, 8 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a different set of circumstances, but it was just hard. It was just hard, and it just had to be done a day at a time. I couldn't get in shape a week at a time. I had to do one workout at a time. I had to
Yeah.
not party one day at a time. I had to break things down to a very micro level. I couldn't look at the situation as a whole, right? But and what we'll get into later, and what I do now for work, it's like
Sure.
the reason I got into all that is because
Perfect.
this experience of recovering from alcoholism and my return to health is really what launched my career. I don't think I'd be who and what I am today had I not, because the roadmap is what happened when I had to get back to it. It's one thing having it, but there's one thing losing it and having to get it back.
Yes.
And I think where I bring value in my career is that all the road bumps I hit along the way, nobody can tell me, well, you don't understand, because I do. I do understand.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do.
Rick, you mentioned something key, a key word, relationships. How those relationships were affected by your consumption of alcoholism. I mean, mom, dad. I mean, you said your dad was, let's say, wasn't there, but
Mm-hmm.
mom, dad. I mean, that mom. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends, partners, colleagues.
You can pretty much throw girlfriends out the window, right? I mean, because there's just no quality relationship. Here's the thing. When you can't, or when I could not be present or take care of myself, there was no way I was going to be able to invest in any of those relationships because I hadn't invested in myself. So it's like, be very wary of the naked guy who offers you the shirt off his back. I was trying to, anything that I got involved in, I was trying to give people something that I didn't possess myself.
Yes.
It's like right now, you ask me for $1 million. I don't have it to give to you. Same thing back then with the relationships. My energy went into what I was partaking in. There wasn't much left because of just how I guess encapsulating it is to be in that.
Yeah.
But what I would say is even when I wasn't drinking, right, and I was out somewhere and I wasn't present, even when I was there in body, I wasn't fully engage because of the toll it was taking on me. So that's the way I would say it affected my relationships most. Or really no quality, because I didn't have quality within myself.
Sure.
So it's hard to give. Like there was nothing left over to give to people. And when I look back at it, and when I think now, it's the fact that I'm able to be present, even to show up here at 10 o'clock on time and do what I say I'm going to do. That's what it is. And I couldn't do that then, because for one, I just couldn't do it for myself. So how am I going to do it for you?
Yes.
So
I love what you said, Rick. I mean, there's a misconception of, let me do this because I want to be happy. Let me get married so I can be happy. Let me get this job. And that's totally wrong, right? You have to be happy within yourself, inner love yourself in order to provide that love, that experience, etc., to others. So
yeah, and
definitely
anyone that says they do it and they clearly don't possess it themselves, and I can't speak on others, but it's clear. It's clear when that's going on, and but it's easy to say that, right? It's easy to say just be happier. There's a lot of work that goes on when the lights are out.
Yes.
When we're not on the podcast, when I'm not in front of people at work, when I'm not in front of clients, it's a 24/7 job. To make the next right decision.
Yep, definitely.
To make the next right decision, just in anything. Do I be kind to my wife? Do I empty that dishwasher? Do I pour her coffee before mine? It's those little things. They add up. There's not one little thing. And I think that's nothing's little. That's what I learned.
Yep.
When I missed out on things, nothing's little. There's no little decision I make. Every decision I make gets me to here, talking to you.
And Rick, going back to relationships and people surrounding you, I mean, obviously, where you at now, definitely there's got to be someone of a bunch of people around you supporting you, right?
Yeah.
How was that experience? Who was that person, that mentor, that guy?
Well, being in recovery means going to 12-step fellowships, and I don't mention them specifically because we're not too affiliated, press, radio, and films. So I can say 12-step programs. I just can't mention which ones, right? So in a general way, I go to meetings, right? And I think that the greatest mentor I've had is definitely a gentleman named Ed Comrie, and I met him in this fellowship, and him and I, in a few year process, we went through 12-step recovery together, and man, we really just he actually was a Duke baseball player, and I actually live in North Carolina now, so it's really strange. But it's kind of funny. He was on episode 141 of Intervention, and I watched it. Him and I got sober the same year, 2011. He got sober in January. I got sober in September. I watched his episode in July, and I didn't meet him until I was 6 years sober.
Oh, wow.
I met him at a meeting in Baltimore. He was traveling down from Philly doing a little consulting work with Black & Decker, and I met him in a meeting. He was having a rough day, and him and I struck up a conversation, and he actually wound up being the best man at my wedding, and I'm actually the godfather of his daughter. But it happened by chance, truly higher powered stuff. But Ed really, he helped me start my business when I lived back in Baltimore. I met Ed in 2017. I met my wife in 2017. I started my business in 2017. 2017 was an impactful year, and Ed, man, he was key. But I've had a lot of good people around me from that fellowship, people that stay sober. But I also have a lot of we call them normies, right? People who are non-alcoholics that are very motivated, successful people. They're all the people you've met over at Omnia, Erica, like the people I work alongside. They might not have that. They live life by principle. They didn't have to go to a 12-step fellowship to figure it out, but we all have our own journeys. But I'm surrounded by a good amount of people who have what I have, and then people that are doing what I'm doing in a career sense. And
they want what you want as well.
Yeah, it's a good mix of both. Well, I want what they have, and they have what and we just all we level up together. We're trying to build each other up. So I think it's important for alcoholics to be around recovering alcoholics because there is a similarity there, and there's a bond like none other.
Yes.
So, but it's also to good to not just spend your whole life in meeting. You gotta build a life outside of that fellowship too.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
good. So I got it covered in all ways. My wife is number one, So I mean, it's just
so.
I really do have a first class life today. I mean, I really do.
Nice.
And I'm not talking about the material stuff. I'm talking about relationships.
Sure.
It's quality, deep relationships.
So Rick, moving into today, right? I mean, I bet recovering from alcoholism, you are on a daily challenge, right? Right now, you're sober. Been how many years sober? You said
September 14th, 2011. So it'll be 13 years this year, right? 2024. Yeah, stop counting. 13 years, because it is a day-to-day thing.
Yeah,
the time doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, it does, but it's just about what am I doing today.
Question, Rick, do you get temptations, and above that, does your body like pull you through?
So here's the deal. The ones that I've seen fall by the wayside are the ones that have gotten away from doing the daily maintenance, meaning going to meetings, praying, meditating, exercise. I fully believe that it's a physical, mental, spiritual thing. Sure. Mentally, I go to a meeting every day when I'm writing my workouts for the next day. I get on a 9 o'clock Zoom meeting.
Really?
I go to an AA meeting every day.
Wow.
To this day.
I
I exercise every day.
But that's because you want, or that's part of the process?
Has nothing to do with drinking. It's the thinking. I went for the drinking. I stayed for the thinking.
Got it.
It's that above mentality you talk about. That's what gives me the above mentality.
There you go.
Is doing what I have to do on a daily, because when I started this journey, I had nothing to lose, everything to gain. Now I have everything to lose. I got to be there more now than I was at the beginning.
Correct.
Because now there's this distance and all these things that I've accumulated and all this. When I first got there, I said to some guy, I wish I was 10 years sober. He said, son, you couldn't handle 10 years sober right now. Why don't you just enjoy today? He said, I wouldn't. And he was right. I wouldn't have been able to handle the life I had today, relationship-wise, career-wise, financially, responsibility-wise. I have a daughter. I would have never been able to take care of these things then. I had to become this person. And I truly believe that if you still want something, you're not ready for it, or else you'd have it. So when you talk about the daily maintenance and temptation, if I do what I need to do daily, never comes. I've never been tempted to take a drink since the first day, because I made a decision. I was never on the fence, and I never doubted the truth about me. And the truth was that I am an alcoholic, and it doesn't define me. It's just a fact. It's like the Orioles made the playoffs. It's like looking at a fact and going, okay, that just is what it is. There's no emotion in it anymore. It's like your hat is white. I am an alcoholic. I just do what I have to do about it, and it's actually, when I look at it, it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, because that going to that fellowship is where I learned the principles that I apply in my life. I don't know where I'd be without it. Truly. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where, like, you say blessings in disguise, this and that, but really, like, it's just a hard fact, man. And the physical compulsion, never.
Okay.
Believe it or not, I actually bartended for 2 years sober to make an amends.
Really?
To a previous employer, and a lady offered me a shot one time. Okay. And she said, and what my sponsor always told me to say was, just tell her you've had enough already. And that's the truth, right? I've had enough.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what that means, but I actually told her I was sober. And she said, oh man, you must feel like you're in prison back here. I actually said it's the most freeing thing in the world to realize it was never the alcohol. It was always my thinking. It was always my reaction to life was to drink alcohol and look for an outer solution. The solutions are always on the inside.
Oh, wow. Well said, Rick.
Yeah, it's never outside of me, ever. The answer is never outside of me. It might come from a conversation with somebody to help me find something inside of me, but the answers I'm looking for are never outside of me. In a purchase, in another relationship, not even when my wife can't make me happy. I have to make me happy. My wife can give me love, but in order for me to give it back to her, I have to produce it within myself.
Wow.
Everything comes from in here. Nothing's out here. And I used to always live out here. What you thought of me, what I could buy, how I could look. it was just terrible because there's never any peace there.
Yep.
Because it's always going to be about the next thing, and that's what alcoholism is. It's one more will be good.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Well
never
said,
that.
Rick. Well said. I mean, it's the inner you, right? You make that decision. You decide to love yourself, to find the right reasons within you. So now nothing outside, nothing external can change that.
No, nothing external changes your mindset. Ever.
There you go.
Period.
There you go.
Nothing. Good, bad, or indifferent. Circumstances do not matter. Yeah, they just don't matter. It's null and void.
Yeah.
It's just like
They
I get
come
up
and go.
that's right.
Circumstances
I
go
know
and
what
go.
I have to do. Yep. Feelings aren't facts.
There you go.
They're just
Wow.
feelings.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Rick, you mentioned that the lessons learned. How right now you're a certified trainer, right, at Omnia?
So strength and conditioning coach, nutritionist. We're doing some good stuff over there, man.
Nice.
Doing some good stuff.
Let me share here real quick.
Yeah.
This is where you work, right? Omnia apparatus. Can you share? I looked the definition of Omnia apparatus. Do you know the definition?
Oh yeah, ready for anything in Latin.
Ready for anything.
That's a good pop quiz, though. Ready for anything. So, man, and the above mindset, Omnia apparatus, right? Health training.
There you go.
Ready for anything, right? So these people are coming in, and my clients and our group members, we're putting them through some stuff in a good way, in a good, safe way.
And that's my question. How do you apply your lessons learned into now being a trainer at work? And people coming and sharing probably with you their stories, their struggle.
Yeah,
how those lessons can be implemented into those customers.
The training saved my life. Training and coaching saved my life. Sports and coaching saved my life. What do I do now for a living? I'm a strength and conditioning coach, nutrition coach, and I deal with physical activity all day long. Strength and conditioning. So basically, teachers have the platform of a classroom. We have the platform of a beautiful facility where people come to face themselves every day.
An amazing facility, yes.
Yeah, and they come in there and they face themselves, and we instruct them to keep them safe. But getting back to the 12-step program, I honestly think the edge in my career has nothing to do with education or anything I've learned through a certification or schooling. It has to do with the life experience and working 12 steps. Because when people come in and they confide in us for guidance, what I do is I just take the principles in that 12-step process, and they have no idea I'm working it with them. That's what's given me the edge in my career, is the ability to go deeper and figure out why people can't come to us and how to get them to realize where they want to go, and not the outer goal, the inner reason why. If I can get them to tap into the inner reason why they come to face themselves every day through exercise, it's just principles taught through adversity on a gym floor. It's like you don't cheat, you don't take shortcuts, you work hard, you give everything you got, and you stay in your own lane. And we get to do that every day on repeat with people and watch them grow.
Wow.
Watch them grow, watch them get stronger, watch them face themselves, watch them cry some days, watch them come back the next day. It's the most rewarding thing I could ever done. That's success to me, is participating in that type of operation in life, and carrying that stuff into my home. There's no loud banging, screaming, yelling in this house. It's a peaceful place to come back to.
Amen.
After a long day of work. That's success to me. Is to have peace and love in my home.
And now that you mentioned coming back home, I know that you recently become a parent, Rick. Congrats. How parenting has changed your life?
Oh my God. So the discipline was there.
Beautiful daughter, by the way.
Oh man, the discipline was there. The support network is there. My wife's incredible.
Yes.
I mean, really. I mean, I literally, I'm in love with my life, and I hated my life 14 years ago.
Really?
I just didn't see a way out of it. And to think of being here now, talking to you, and I had no idea this time 2 years ago I was going to be living in North Carolina. No idea. and I'm here. And back to the, what was the question again? Tell me what I got so caught up in thinking about it.
Parenting, but you mentioned something
Parenting, yes.
about
Oh my God,
hating your
my
wife.
I started talking about all the supporting people. I forget, man, my daughter, on top of the discipline, if I thought I loved hard, I love even harder now. And then now let's come back to motivation. The discipline is at 110%.
There you go.
Now the motivation got stronger. And I didn't even need motivation, but now I have even more. So I don't even, I loved getting up to go to work before, but now I love getting up to go to work. And I just want to, listen, I don't want to push it to the next level. Like I want to spend my whole life at work, because what I'm saying is I have an even harder driving force for one, to stay sober, for two, to work hard, three, to love hard, and four, to be present.
Oof.
To be present, because that I think that's the most important thing in work, in any of this stuff we're talking about, all these things, right? It's being where you are and not having the phone out, like looking people in the eye. We talked about that at the provincial.
Yes.
And Justin and I talked about when we left. None of us looked at our phones. We just had a conversation. Yeah, like 45 minutes flew by, and I don't know how you didn't eat all your steak, because that steak was unbelievable.
Oh,
but
by the way,
my daughter
this is
just took everything.
This is a free ad for the provincial. For me, it's a hidden gem in downtown
I'll be
Apex.
a Paratus provincial above headwear, but
there
what
you
I'm
go.
telling you is what my daughter has done is she's taken a really amazing life, and it was like watching HD TV. She put it in 4K. It's like amplified, man. Yes. It's like everything just locked in and it became 3D. She just added another dimension to my life that I didn't know could exist, or I didn't even know. I just didn't know. You don't know what you don't know until you get there.
Yep.
So
definitely.
Yeah, it's incredible. I don't want to be one of them guys. Oh, my daughter, she's just special to us, man. She's the best thing. She's the best thing that's ever happened to us. I say that, I don't even know what I'm going to be saying next year. It's like to live a life that you're excited to get up the next morning. To me, it's the greatest success. I just can't wait to live out Saturday, and I pray to God Sunday comes.
Amen.
Because it's just getting better and better. But I think it's because of the work that's been done. The discipline is what brings that excitement.
It's from the struggles to a full life of fulfillment. And I love what you said. Work hard, love hard, be present. Boom.
That's it. Work hard, love hard, be present. Because if you're working hard, but when you come home, you got nothing left in the tank. My daughter doesn't deserve that. Neither does my wife.
Yes.
Definitely. And can some people tolerate more than others? I think I have a pretty good work capacity, but I know if I'm doing too much, and I know when to step it back, because they don't deserve that. It's one thing to provide, but then there's to go over the top and think that I need to overcompensate. Another word too is enough. What's enough?
What's enough
in today's society? What's enough? And I think about that a lot in my morning meditations. Like, enough. When's enough? Like, always strive to be more, but to just realize some days enough is enough, and you can lay it down and just be present. So,
Definitely.
There's these 5 lines, and that's where the challenge is today. It's where are those lines drawn? What's success to you? What's enough? What is enough when still striving to improve? How do you do that and balance everything? I don't know that you can. I think we're all trying.
Yes.
I think we're all trying. So
definitely. Well said, Rick. Rick, before we go, any words for the audience? Great conversation, and we summarize: work hard, love hard, be present. Besides those 3 solid fundamentals and lines, anything else that you want to share with the audience for they to take out of this conversation?
We hit on a lot of topics. We talked about a lot of things: an upbringing, a struggle, a success story. To me, my success story, what I believe to be success. I would say one thing is, if you're trying to make a change, especially on the alcoholic front, the greatest thing I've ever done with anything, and I wrote a post about this not too long ago, is even the greatest, the top performers, they all have coaches.
Yes.
They all have mentors. None of them do it alone. People don't get sober alone. People don't win championships alone. People don't parent alone. Hopefully not some do, but hopefully they get help or are willing to ask for help. So
Yeah.
I think my main thing would be is if you see people or you see somebody that has a life that you want, or you want to get to a desired result, find a person that you believe to be there and ask them for help.
Question.
And do less talking and listen.
Oof.
Hearing someone and listening is two different things. And I think that's one of the main thing I'd want people to walk away from this podcast knowing is that I've received a lot of help and I had to listen. And then that the greatest thing, I think my greatest ability in life is to be able to take information that I've heard and apply it, not just take it in and not use it. It's the application of what I bring in. So, ask for help and then listen and pay attention to that help and really get a circle of people that are really rooting for you and that are where you want to be or moving on that growth path in the same trajectory as you. That's what I'd say.
Well said. I don't know if you can see this message here. It says, get 1% better every day.
That's it.
That's it.
Yep.
Listen more, get the information, implement it, execute it, and just get 1% better every day.
And ask for help.
Ask for help.
There's no weakness in asking for help. It's a strength. Suffering silently is not a strength.
Oh, yes.
Seriously. I mean, it's a travesty. It's a shame.
Yes.
It's a shame because there's so many people out here that want to help.
When you don't reach out, you leave inner thoughts dominate you. And the enemy is surrounding you, putting you negative thoughts. You can't do this. You're not good enough. So on, so on. So
that's all of us. We all have that.
Yeah.
You got to have a mini army around you that's willing to go to war with you every day. And that's what we do over there, every day. Just an army of people that do hard stuff every day. They make their bodies, their minds, and their souls stronger. So when we go out and we take on our families and our lives, it's easy. It's easy. You're coming over to work out.
Yeah, I need to. I'll be there. Trust me.
This was a pleasure. I mean, this was a lot of fun.
Man,
I feel like it flew by.
Wow. 50 minutes podcast. Great conversation. Thank you for accepting the invitation and for sharing your story with this audience. I hope that people listening and watching us, like you said, take this information, listen, implement it, and get 1% better every day.
That's it. And reach out for help if you need it. Reach out for help. And to anyone if you need it. Do not suffer silently. We've lost too many people to that.
I know. Well said.
No.
Well said. Rick,
it's a pleasure.
Blessings to you, to your wife, to your daughter, to your life. Keep doing what you're doing and keep rising above.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.
Take care.
Yep. Till the next one, brother.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Above Mentality Podcast. If you enjoyed the stories and insights shared today, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with friends and family. Your feedback is very important to us. Stay connected with us on social media or visit us at aboveheadwear.com. Remember, live the above mentality and keep rising above. See you next time.